Before we begin, this will be largely spoiler-free. At least spoiler-free is something should be for anyone willing to click on a video with the name of the game in the title anyway. I have personally kept as spoiler-free as possible. Not spoiler-free, but I haven't gone out of my way to learn things about the game. I want to come in as fresh as possible. In the spirit of that, if you are one of those people who love to try and ruin things for other people, the comments of this video will be on approval only, so the only person you'll be ruining it for is me, and I don't care that much about spoilers. I haven't gone out of my way to keep myself spoiler-free. I just haven't sought out any extra information so I can keep my experience as free as possible. But I will be deleting your comments if you try and ruin it for other people. So feel free. The comments will be safe from excessive spoilery stuff. So feel free to go down there and leave your thoughts and opinions without risk of some dickhead being a dickhead for being a dickhead's sake. On with the video. Hello again, I am Blunty, and if everything goes to plan, and that's a dangerous word to use for me this week because nothing has so far, but if everything goes to plan, as I record this time tomorrow, I'll be streaming Pokémon Legends of Arceus over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/bluntmate, if you're curious about that. But with Pokémon Legends of Arceus, and it's Arceus, by the way, that's how you pronounce it. That's how the Japanese commercials pronounce it. And you might have heard the English language trailers pronounce it Arceus, but the Japanese ones pronounce it Arceus. So both pronunciations are valid if you're out there arguing about that for some reason. By the way, it's GIF, not GIF. But I'm an Australian and I like to say the word arse, so I've been calling it Arceus all along. Plus, you know, geologically, we're closer to Japan here in Australia than we are to the UK, where the English language was born and things like that. It's Arceus. I haven't been sampled a review copy, and I wasn't expecting one because Nintendo just don't send review copies to me anymore for some reason. I pissed them off years ago for something. I don't even remember what, but they stopped talking to me. I reach out to them from time to time for help with things, like I did when Monster Hunter Rise launched, and, you know, they emailed me back, but they were very unwilling to help. Shrug. So, my plan for this video this morning, and it's been the plan for about a week, is to go through the, you know, the pre-launch embargo lifting major review sites and sort of distill down some, you know, thoughts from those to share with you. There's some spoiler-free stuff. I was going to pick the sites that I knew would be careful about spoilers and things like that, but it turns out Kotaku have already done that for me. Presumably Kotaku haven't been sampled a review copy either because, well, Kotaku probably pissed off Nintendo as well because Kotaku were... So, seeing as Kotaku, well, they very much enjoy just not doing very much work and sharing other people's work, I thought I would share their work in distilling other people's work to share with you because you might be too lazy to read them yourselves, or you want to hear my running commentary on it because you like my style, and you know I've been a Pokemon fan for, well, since Gen 1, all the way through, so maybe my opinion counts for something in reference to how these things flow out. So, but they've grabbed about a paragraph from 8 major review sites, so I'm going to read those for you and give you my thoughts along the way. GameSpot. Some of the new ideas in Arceus have rough edges. That's to be expected. There hasn't been a Game Freak game without rough edges ever. And it's slow to start before you get access to many environments and mounts. That's kind of disappointing. Because the slow start in Pokemon Sun and Moon was one of the most painful things about that. In Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they fixed that somewhat. But it's tough, it's hard to go back and replay those original games because of how slowly they open up. So hopefully this isn't as bad as that. It's a big adjustment for me, a long-time fan of the series, to make once Pokemon Legends Arceus finds its stride, though. It's the most daring and inventive the series has been in years. I wonder what they're comparing it to, because I wouldn't call Pokemon ever having been daring or inventive. They take very small baby steps all the time. Breaking apart the staid core and creating something new and exciting from a species. So that's encouraging. Seems fairly open and honest. Slow start, but it opens up to an exciting, fun, joyful, novel game. Nintendo Life comes next. Pokemon Legends of Arceus feels like the result of Game Freak learning lessons for 25 years. Well, that's... Adoy! They've been making Pokemon for 25 years. Of course they're going to learn things along the way. That's such a stupid sentence. Well, it feels like they've learned things over 25 years, like humans tend to do. I respect Nintendo Life. Excellent writing. Refining the formula and finally taking the franchise in a new, incredible, exciting direction with its emphasis on extremely rewarding exploration. That's good to hear. Addictive catching mechanics, a fine roster of Pokemon. A fine roster of Pokemon. You know, it's a very fine roster of Pokemon. It's come from a very good year. I get notes of Pikachu. There's some Squirtle on the back palette. Nobody take that out of context. There's some Squirtle on the back palette. A genuine sense of scale that's unlike anything in the series. I came across that fact too. You might consider it a spoiler. I don't, but if you do, mute the video while I do this. And when my hands go down, you can unspoil yourself. But there are different sizes of Pokemon that are represented physically in game. Like the scale of the various sprites will change depending on that Pokemon's particular size. So that's exciting. Monster Hunter Rise does that. Well, all Monster Hunter games, but Monster Hunter Rise does that too. They're bigger, and you have the special rewards for catching smaller and the biggest ones and and things like that. So I wonder if size is going to be tied to like health pool in any way, things like that. Be interesting. Spoiler over. Pokémon Legends Arceus is quite simply one of the greatest Pokemon games ever made. That's a long bow to draw. That's a bold statement, Nintendo Life. Eurogamer comes next. Either way, this game is crafted by subtractive sculpture. And how weirdly refreshing that is compared to our art form's current insatiable appetite for only adding more and more. I might need to read the full article of that, because that seems like a weird comment. Because they're not subtracting from the Pokemon formula, they've added on top of, as far as the catching mechanics go, as far as the fighting mechanics go, at least as far as I know about those things, they've added on top of the existing systems to make them more complex, more nuanced. So saying it's a subtractive process seems very weird to me, Eurogamer. Pokémon Legends Arceus is either a series bare minimum or its purest form. I think it's both at once. That's curious. Games Radar. Problems with the performance. That's the first I've heard of that. Fantastic. I wouldn't think there'd be problems with performance considering how bare bones the graphics tend to look. By the way, on the note of graphics, I see lots of people complaining about the graphics, comparing them side by side with other Switch games and other games in general, saying, oh, 5 years ago, Breath of the Wild looked like this, and now this year, this game looks like this. Pokemon has never been about graphics. In any given generation of Pokemon game, from the very, very first one to Sword and Shield, whatever, none of them have been the best example of graphical representation in their respective generations compared to roughly equivalent, JRPG-style games of their era. They never, ever have looked the best. They've always been like a generation or half a generation at least behind in graphics presentation. Pokemon doesn't sell based on its graphical presentation. People don't buy Pokemon because it's the prettiest possible game. You idiots, stop comparing the graphics to other games. That's not why people play. That's not why they've ever played. For a quarter of a century, Pokemon has been a very average-looking game compared to its contemporaries. Stop comparing the graphics, you nitwits. It's meaningless. But when you're having such a great time with actual gameplay, thank you, it's not enough to hold back on this otherwise impressive swing into a new Pokemon generation, building on the foundations of the past with exciting new mechanics, more open structure, and efforts made to address each of the elements that were becoming stale. Be curious to see what they're talking about specifically there. Pokémon Legends of Arceus is a must-play game for any would-be trainers who prefer to spend their time appreciating Pokémon rather than putting them into battle. Again, with that context, that seems weird. Pokemon is a battle game. That's what it is at its purest heart. So if we're going to spend more time just looking at Pokemon, I guess I see where they're coming from. Because the Pokemon are out in the wild, they're in the field, you can see them at all times. They've got more naturalistic behaviors than they have and all that kind of stuff. So I guess you could pretend you're a nature documentarist and just chill out and watch the Pokemon for a while. Which I'm hoping to do, quite frankly, because I like doing that in some games. In Monster Hunter World, I would put on the ghillie suit, which would hide you from the monsters, and just hang around and watch their behavior and things like that. I've got a funny feeling that Pokemon behaviors aren't going to be that complex in this game, but I'm hoping I'm wrong about that, because it'd be nice just to chill out and David Attenborough for a while, you know what I mean? Polygon. Pokemon Legends of Arceus is a bit of a mess. Uh-oh. But all first drafts are. I would hardly call 25 years of making Pokemon games a first draft. It stumbles often on its way to innovation. It's trying to evolve nearly 24-year-old series. Not nearly 24-year-old. 25 years. Unless you're talking about the English language launches. And it brings equal parts of brilliance and frustration in its updated systems, but the good bits in Pokemon Legends of Arceus outweigh the bad, rounding out its successful first attempts at an action-centric Pokemon game. Not a first attempt at an action-centric Pokemon game. There have been plenty of spin-offs which are much more action-centric than the core series have been. Polygon. I'm not sure whether whoever wrote this article has ever played a Pokemon game before, but it seems like they might not have played many. VG247, far too much of what is doing differently was hidden pre-release. That's a good thing, and as far as I'm concerned, I want to be surprised by it. I don't want to know everything about it before I even get to press A to start the game. Thank you very much. Pokémon Legends of Arceus threads the needle and somehow finds a brilliant balance between old and new, between tradition and upheaval. It's the 3D Pokemon adventure that I imagined back in the 90s that never came. Giggity. It's fresh, it feels new, exciting, and like a powerful new beginning for the series. That's what I wanted to hear. A powerful new beginning for the series, a refresh, a soft reboot, if you will, of the game mechanically as it stands. Technical shortcomings and amount of frustrations can't take away what this game achieves. Elsewhere, it's the best main series Pokemon game in a long, long time. Fantastic. There is a garbage truck pulling into my street right now. I'm just going to talk over it because I can't be bothered waiting for it to go away. So if you hear background noise, just deal with it. VGC, Pokémon Legends of Arceus, is a breath of fresh air in the series is needed for so long. It may not have been apparent from the trailers, but this is one of the most entertaining, engaging, and engrossing games in the entire history of the Pokemon series. And it's highly recommended to both longtime fans and complete newcomers. Which, again, I feel like is the point of this game. It's a refresh, a soft reboot of the series, making it more action-orientated, hopefully attracting a few more of the younger gamers who are more used to that kind of game, because the old slow-paced, turn-based kind of, JRPG style thing is pretty old-fashioned by today's standards, considering the types of games kids these days tend to play. So hopefully this will be a bit more enticing for them, keep the fan base of Pokemon strong and going, and, have the game selling and selling and selling so they can keep making more and more and more Pokemon games as we go along, because that's all I want. More Pokemon games forever. Don't let the series die. So yeah, that's promising as well. The Verge! Oh, Christ, The Verge. The Verge! Fantastic, now someone's using an angle grinder outside. That should do wonders for my audio. The most important thing I can say about Arceus is that it's a place I want to be in. As much as I loved previous Pokemon games, the worlds were very static and linear. I never really felt like I was exploring a vibrant world while walking back and forth in tall grass. That's a failure of imagination on your part, I think. Trying to level up my squad. Here, though, while it's not exactly a realistic simulation of nature... What a stupid thing to say about a Pokemon game. It's not actually a realistic simulation of nature in this game with little lizards that can spit fireballs. At least it gives off the feeling of a real place full of danger and secrets and all the joy and excitement those things can bring. And it does all of that while retaining most of the best qualities of its predecessors. It's still a Pokemon game, but with a changed perspective. So there you are. It seems like most reviewers have a fairly universal opinion of this. Not everyone loves the new stuff as much as others. Most people are praising the new feeling of openness and exploration. Most seem to enjoy the new mechanics they've employed in the game. They think they're positive attributes to the game. Only one review mentioned, or at least one paragraph of the sample of the review mentioned the particularly slow start. And no one bitched on about the graphics too much. One person mentioned a performance issue, which that's a bit disappointing, considering how much complaints we had about Sword and Shield's performance, considering its very basic graphical structure. Well, you'd think they'd refine their game engine a bit to account for that, because, yeah, that's all anyone could talk about for, like, weeks, because it had a really horrible frame rate. But then again, so did several of the 3DS Pokemon games, particularly when you had more than one Pokemon on screen at the same time and you're in 3D mode, it tended to destroy the frame rate. And in a turn-based game, that's annoying but not ruinous, but in an action-based system or slightly more action-focused system, frame rate issues might be a little more jarring, so we'll keep our eyes out from that. Anyway, that's what I think about what they think about what the game, what they think about what the Kotaku thinks about what these other people think about what I think about what they said. You know what I mean. So let me know what your expectations and hopes are, and how you think how this commentary made you feel, and how my snarkiness made you feel, if you like. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty. We'll catch you next time, and thank you as always to the patrons up above there. And please do follow along at twitch.tv/bluntnate, where I will be streaming this game. I'll probably be doing a full playthrough, as I do for most Pokemon games, which means all progress will be on stream. I'll be recording those and putting them up on the secondary channel, as well as we did for our last full playthrough.